Samurai Shodown 2019 was the first traditional fighting game I ever played extensively, but that was only through its single-player modes. During its recent Rollback netcode beta, I hopped into the game for the first time in a long time and finally gave player matches a try. I really wanted to see if the things that I had learned from doing the Guilty Gear series would carry over. What originally drew me to Samurai Shodown wasn't a trailer or tournament footage, but instead an unconventional marketing tactic. When SamSho first released, SNK made its first season pass free to all players for a limited time, regardless of if they owned the game or not. I had never heard of the series before, and added the DLC to my PSN account in the off chance the game ever caught my eye again. Checking out the trailer and some gameplay videos afterward, I was quick to buy the game the next time it went on sale. And when I tell you that I was an arcade mode warrior, I mean it. I played the arcade mode of that game so many times, and it was always fun. SamSho 2019 nails its presentation, to the point where I never felt the need to go online. When you boot up Samurai Shodown, you'll quickly realize that, behind all the blood and slashing, it's a much slower fighting game compared to the other mainstream offerings. I once described it to someone as the fighting game that most feels like a real fight. In real fights and combat sports, most matches involve far more movement and prodding compared to the intense action sequences. Samurai Shodown itself is famous for matches where players become incredibly patient and it looks like nothing's going on, because the weight of most attacks is pretty extreme. There are consequences for getting even the most basic attacks blocked, and it's obvious enough that most new players will pick up on it pretty quickly. It creates an environment that mirrors its namesake. If you're in a real sword fight, you're not going to be throwing out attacks willy-nilly, because that will get you killed. The game replicates that and creates an environment that reinforces to new players how important patience is to succeeding at the game. The damage reflects that, as honestly as you could hope for from a fighting game. It's high, especially when comparing its normal attacks to normals in other fighting games. The most notorious example of this comes when you hit heavy slash on a fighter that just whiffed an attack.
What? It's just an ordinary crabby. Oh my goodness! Squidward!
It feels right for that attack to do that much damage. Taking a massive slash in your most vulnerable position should gut your health bar. While normals doing so much damage would be a big issue in most fighting games, it works in Samurai Shodown because the game's combos aren't very long. You aren't going to be knocked out in one combo, unlike what that heavy slash damage might lead some to believe. Most of them boil down to doing a normal into a special and then maybe into a super. This helps new players quite a bit, as they can quickly learn most of the combos that higher level players are doing. That goes a long way in shortening the perceived gap between players, as it quickly removes the option of new players thinking that they lost the match solely because their opponent knew better combos than them. In Samurai Shodown, the game's pace makes the basics of a loss more understandable than in most fighting games. There aren't a bunch of different moves and strings to keep track of, so the battle for spacing advantages is very clear. The damage from normals, the lack of lengthy combos, and the slower pace those create are the reason I've been calling Samurai Shodown the best fighting game for people who want to try out the genre. There's a lot less information to process while playing, which makes it easier on new players to figure out what's going on and what they should be doing. I've had this belief for a while, and it actually got validated recently. Through Twitter, I met a really cool guy that got funding from Champlain College's esports program to run an after-school program that teaches middle and high school kids life lessons through the medium of fighting games. He teaches kids how to play fighting games for a living, and he agreed with me, calling Samurai Shodown the easiest 2D fighter for people to start with. Now, if you've watched my Guilty Gear videos, you've probably heard me say that the Gatling system is a big reason I play Guilty Gear. I love being able to mash buttons and have them raise the combo counter, regardless of how effective the combo actually is. So it might come as a surprise that Samurai Shodown, with perhaps the smallest combos in fighting games, is probably my favorite fighting game. Coming back to the series, it surprised me too. I wondered if learning that I like generous combo mechanics through Tekken and Guilty Gear might have turned me against how Samurai Shodown does things. But I could not have been more incorrect. I hopped online with Samsho without trying to learn a single combo. I'd been playing as Haomaru from the very start, so I knew his basic buttons and most of his special moves, but that was it. I didn't even know which button the dodge mechanic was mapped to, and I still don't. But as soon as I got into a match, I could feel myself doing the little things that helped me get better at Guilty Gear. Better spacing in neutral, playing patiently, and mixing up how I approach an opponent after a knockdown. They were all paying off as soon as I got into the game. The differences between Guilty Gear Plus R and Samurai Shodown 2019 are massive, but the fundamentals carried over just as well. What worked in one, worked in the other. The same is true for the mindset I tried to curate for myself in those Guilty Gear videos. Given that I knew very little about Samurai Shodown, I of course got my ass kicked. In my first day, I went like 1 in 15. Some rounds were pretty competitive, but most weren't. What stopped me from getting mad at those constant losses was that I wasn't focused on winning. I was focused on learning. If you approach fighting games from the perspective of, I want to solve this problem, and not, I want to win this game, they become so much more rewarding. Solving a problem gives you a better chance of winning, but wanting to win does not suddenly make you better at solving problems. And there's a good chance that it actually makes you less effective at what you're trying to accomplish. Focusing on the learning aspect of these games gives you the chance to have small, constant victories that you deny yourself of if you only focus on the endgame outcome. That's why I love opponents who spam. Yes, keep doing the move I'm struggling against and give me more chances to find a solution. I faced an Amakusa recently that did exactly that. I could not figure out how to deal with some of their primary options. So instead of trying to win each round, I kept looking ahead, trying to find solutions that I could use to play better in future rounds. I treated it more like sparring than competition. While I do go into every match trying to win, once I realize I lack some important knowledge, the goal then becomes figuring out how to stop one of the things they're doing that is really effective against me. That Amakusa slapped me around for 10 straight games, and only one of the rounds was really competitive. But the whole time, I was enjoying it. I got to see something I'd never played against before and test out different options. That's a run of matches I'll look back on in a few months, thinking that would go pretty differently today, just like the first bunch of Plus R matches I played last year. Doing the Guilty Gear series taught me that I could learn a fighting game. Samurai Shodown has taught me that if you learn one, you're going to have a pretty smooth transition to the rest of them. This is especially clear here since the two games I went between contrast each other so heavily. One is an anime air dasher with bursts and Roman cancels. The other is a grounded samurai game with combos that normally don't go above 3 moves. It makes me want to learn more fighting games now since I know there won't be a lengthy transition period between them. The fundamentals and the right mindset will carry over. It's not hard to imagine how playing Samurai Shodown will make me a better Guilty Gear player. There are a few matchups in Plus R that I could really benefit from playing more patiently, and Samurai Shodown's whole thing is reinforcing the importance of patience. At the same time, the fast pace of Guilty Gear might help me play at a better pace in Samurai Shodown, so I don't give my opponent's options too much respect. I really love that I was able to come back to the game that made me a casual fighting game fan, and love it from the competitive aspect. If Samurai Shodown had rollback netcode from the very start, it might be the game that I was making diaries videos on instead of Guilty Gear Plus R. But I'm really glad that my two favorite fighting games are so drastically different. As fun as it is to do 20 plus hit Axle Bomber combos, the tension from a stare down in Samurai Shodown is also exhilarating. In conclusion, fighting games are awesome, and you should play more of them. In the comments, tell me which fighting game I should play next. By chance, I found myself playing the Japanese exclusive NES title Gundam Wing Endless Duel, and really liked it. Also, subscribe to this channel, watch more of my videos, share them with your friends, and follow me on Twitter. Anyways, peace.